in the region where authorities have taken to demolition of unauthorized structures as the solution. Also coming up, the Interior Ministry tightens its grip on gun ownership and its use following growing gun-related violence at festivals, funerals, and even domestic disagreements. And later in the bulletin, the Black Stars of Ghana face the Three Lions of England in the second round of the Group L stage in the World Cup. We bring you the latest regarding the action, and there will be commentary here on 3FM 92.7. Before we delve into all of this, let's bring you the news summaries with Nura Mohammed. Hello, Nura.
Hello, Martin. We're starting the summaries off with the former Member of Parliament for Domekwabenya, Sarah Adwoa-Safo, has strongly denied claims circulating on social media and other platforms that she was armed or discharged a firearm during the shooting incident that occurred at the residence of her younger brother, Israel Kwadwo-Safo, also known as Akufina. Speaking in a private interaction with journalists while receiving treatment following the incident, the former lawmaker described the allegations as false and misleading, insisting that she neither owns a gun nor has ever used one. According to her, she had visited her brother's residence solely in her capacity as a family member and with no intention of causing harm or provoking confrontation. She explained that she arrived at the property alone and without any security escort, a decision she said reflected her belief that the matter was a family issue. Meanwhile, the Minister for the Interior, Muntaka Mubarak, has announced new stringent measures governing the use of sirens on government vehicles, stating that not all political appointees will be permitted to use them. He said the directive issued through the Office of the President restricts the installation of sirens unless a clear justification is provided and approved by the President. According to the Minister, President John Dramani Mahama has instructed that no sirens should be granted to ministers or appointees unless it is proving that such individuals genuinely require them for official duties. And finally, Parliament is set to reconstitute Ghana's delegation to the ECOWAS Parliament, paving the way for the reinstatement of Minority Leader Alexander Afenyo-Markin as a member of the delegation. The move follows the Deputy Minority Leader Patricia Epieje's rejection of her nomination to replace Minority Leader Afenyo-Markin over concerns of the lack of consultation and alleged procedural irregularities in the election process. The Speaker of Parliament, Alban Bagbin, had referred Alexander Afenyo-Markin to the Privileges Committee following a petition by Majority Leader Mahama Ayariga, who accused him of defying a parliamentary resolution that removed him from Ghana's ECOWAS delegation. That's it for the news summaries. Martin, over to you.
Thank you very much, Nura, for the summaries. Let's delve into the details of the stories we have for you this evening. And many of you must have heard the sad news coming from the Central Regional Capital, Cape Coast, earlier today, where some 18 people, at least 18, died and hundreds displaced after devastating floods, collapsed buildings, mudslides, drowning incidents, and falling trees wreaked havoc across the central region over the weekend. The National Disaster Management Organization, NADMO, which disclosed this, said it had ordered the evacuation of unsafe buildings in the affected communities. The organization said that nearly 9,000 residents had been affected by the multiple disaster. So let's listen exactly to what NADMO has been saying, and then also the kinds of information they've been able to gather on the ground as they prepare to bring some relief items.
This morning we have had a call to move to some disaster areas with the Regional Directorate of the Environmental Health Unit and the National Security. Some cemeteries were flooded, and in such cases there is a need for us to move to the environmental health to assess the situation and to embark on emergency fumigation exercises, which will go a long way to prevent avoidable communicable disease, the spread of communicable diseases, which may bring about an avoidable disease epidemic issue. Out of the 58 building collapse incidents we have recorded in the region, it has affected 377 victims who are now internally displaced. Most of them are coping with family, friends, other relatives, church members, and other traditional authorities within their neighborhoods, whilst a few of them too are making do at the NADMO's provided safe havens within the various MMDAs in the areas where they find themselves in. A total of 8,981 flood victims has been identified and assessed by every sub-metro, districts, municipality, and the metro among the 13 MMDAs. And these 8,981 flood victims recorded from just over this weekend in Cape Coast Metro, Commander Edina for Abrim, Abra Asebu Kwamankese, Infantiman, Upper Dinchra East, Upper Dinchra West, and Awutu Senya West and other MMDAs. They are all expecting support from government through NADMO, knowing that we've had a chance to, of course, to manage a number of disaster incidences from May this year up to now, including receiving Ivorian returnees. We have depleted our stockpile. We are appealing to corporate Ghana, all CEOs through their corporate social responsibility, non-governmental organizations, philanthropies, faith-based organizations, traditional leaders, to come to the aid of the victims that we have now, the 8,921 victims, flood victims, the 377 internally displaced persons as a result of the 58 building collapses, as well as families of those, the fatalities were recorded.
And so you heard the voice of the NADMO executive there. They have given clear indications of the extent of damage, where they say that nearly 9,000 residents have been affected by the multiple disasters, from flooding to mudslide to people drowning and collapsed buildings or weak buildings, structures that have been in isolation for years with very weak structural integrity, all of them collapsing, and all of these cumulatively over the weekend has increased the death toll from, it started from 18, we are told now it's gone to about 20 and counting, but those that have been adversely or directly affected, or especially their homes flooded, etc., is in excess of 9,000. On the back of this, the mayor of Cape Coast, George Justice Arthur, has led the demolition of dilapidated structures in the city as part of the Assembly's measures to protect lives and property as the rainy season progresses. The move follows recent devastating flooding that led to the collapse of some buildings in the metropolis that claimed 4 lives. In a statement released by the Cape Coast Metropolitan Assembly, the Assembly expressed its commitment to addressing the root cause of floods in the metropolis, taking immediate steps to demolish the remains of the collapsed buildings to prevent future danger to people living in and around some of these structures, especially also now that the rains continue. Let's listen to George Justice Arthur, who is the mayor of Cape Coast. He's been interacting with the media as well.
Some are also burdened on waterway. Some are even burdened in the streets. So it's indeed a problem. Now this year, because of heavy downpour, on Friday, which is 19th June 2026, this heavy downpour resulted in serious flooding, and that took about 2 lives, 20-year-old baby and 30-something-year lady. All died as a result of that. Now, I visited the hospital. Some were seriously in critical condition. A Metropolitan Assembly has taken the bills, and we have already buried the disease. Then some buildings also collapsed as a result of that. Just yesterday, which is Sunday, 21st June 2026, 2 lives were taken as a result of that at Jejano, to be precise. 12-year-old girl and 35-year-old lady also died. Then some buildings again collapsed and many of these places were flooded. So I have to take it upon myself as a mayor to save lives. It's better I demolish all these collapsed buildings, structures, than to allow them to sit in and lose their lives. And so I've already demolished about 5 buildings within the metropolis, and some too were naturally collapsed by the rains. So I'm not sitting down. I have sent word of caution to all those people burdened on waterway. Assembly has resolved that we should go after them and make sure that anyone who built without permit, anyone who built on waterway, anyone who built on drains, we demolish all of them. And we need to take this step. Otherwise, we will lose a lot of lives. Cape Coast is either two wasn't like that. Cape Coast, due to its geographical and topography of Cape Coast, wouldn't see such, flooding. But look what is happening now. All because of indiscipline, all because of people's interests, filling places that are waterway and put up structures. And so I'm here to do another demolition, embark on massive demolition. I've spoken with the family. Their reluctance has to do with the fact that they wouldn't get a place to sleep. But some old ladies and old men, or elderly men and elderly women, I've assured them that I will give them a place to sleep. At least in the interim, I am funding some hotels for them, okay, so that they will sleep in the hotel for the next 3 or 4 days, whilst taking steps also to get a place for them to sleep permanently.
So that's the voice of George Justice Arthur, the mayor of Cape Coast. Now, let's, yesterday we brought you some analysis of which specific areas are mostly affected, and our premise was the Samra Boy area, which we started the conversation from, looking at the landmass and the number of houses that had been affected by recent rains and the spillover of some rivers in and around that catchment area. Wisdom Safo of our research desk is here with me again to talk numbers. So Wisdom, to start with, we have heard what's happening in Cape Coast and the kind of impact the multiple disasters have caused and the number of those who've been affected. Talk to us about the situation as we started yesterday, coming into today, and then the general picture.
Okay, so Martin, if you recall, yesterday we started a conversation around Western region, and today we are talking about the Central region. And take note, there's one key theme that is running through. All these regions are coastal regions. So what is happening on our coastal regions? What is happening? So the Central region conversation, as I said yesterday, the problems or the causes of flood is not one blanket. So you remember yesterday we were talking about the Summer Boy situation, and we're saying that it is mostly driven by Galamsey and the topography. But if you look at Cape Coast, right, the current situation we are having, it has a lot of dynamics. It's not only about the flood, but we are talking about buildings also collapsing. About 58 building collapses. I remember 2 years ago, we started raising conversations. I think 2024, 2025, there were similar incidences. And it is no rocket science. If you look at Cape Coast, it's an old town. As these colonial buildings are still there, low maintenance, and our traditional atakpame that we know, right? Most of these buildings are atakpame, right? So if it rains, then they become very vulnerable.
And the atakpame is in reference to mud houses.
Mud houses. Let me just put, mud houses. So if you look at all the regions, currently the Cape Coast region has about 23 districts. Out of these 23 districts, 13 of them have been affected by this flood disaster, and 18 deaths has been recorded. 58 building collapse, and 377 people have been internally displaced. And the victims, you heard the NADMO director on the phone saying that about 8,981 people have been victims of this flood. But the major causes that we can always pinpoint to, number one is the poor drainage and the blocked water channels. You realize that there are a lot of chokes in the gutters, there are a lot of debris in the gutters that is making flow of water very, very difficult. And there's one thing that we are not paying attention to, and how to do with the natural sponge. You realize that of late, when we are building, we kind of screed our floor, we kind of put mortar on the floor, because previously when it rains, the mud naturally turns as a sponge or soaks this water. But because most of them have been paved now, they have been quota, they always rain, and it will also it will flow into, and it will accumulate. So that's one thing that you have to also take note of. And the building in waterways, we've been talking about this over and over again. Why do you have to build in water? Water, you can't stop water from flowing. Yeah. You see, if you build in waterways, when it rains, the water will find a way of colonizing you. Yeah. All right. And the old and weak buildings that we're talking about. And it is one thing that you have to, it's alarming. You realize that this year's flood is not only about, this place has gotten flooded, buildings are also collapsing. And that is a new angle that we also have to tackle as a people. So we have over 100 years, 50 years, 60 years buildings still standing, no renovation. And I can't think far when it comes to we waiting for something to happen before we react. Where are the regulations? Where are the institutions that are supposed to supervise the construction of these buildings? Yeah. So when we are talking about these things, we shouldn't wait for things to happen before we react, knee-jerk reactions to go there and say, we are demolishing this and that. We know the problems. So we should sit down as a people and try to solve them, Martin.
The key issue that the Cape Coast mayor also raised was the fact that they had told their constituents or people within that area that there were some buildings that had been earmarked for demolition. Okay. One, because of the age and then the structural integrity of these buildings. And he said that the people did not undertake some of these buildings because the owners or the purported owners, because some of those buildings are so old that we really can't find a family lineage to which household owns that structure. So sometimes they take the initiative with no feedback. They take the initiative
but are
to
people
break
living
them
in
themselves.
Those buildings?
Some still have people, others don't. Just that others have built around it. So in one of the interviews I heard him, Grant, he talked about the issue of adjoining buildings being affected by the collapse. So some deaths and some of the casualties were people who were not in the building but were affected as a result of the falling of the building. So they are taking the initiative to break them, but they were going to charge families that had some of these structures but were not taking steps to break them down. If
they don't want to be charged.
If you don't have, maybe they don't have the resources to undertake the collapse of the building. So he says that if after some time you are still not doing it, they will do it and then charge the family in terms of the pricing and how much goes into that.
That is quite unfortunate, Martin. Why?
How so?
Look, today Ghana and England, we are coming to play ball. 18 people are going to miss it because of 1 hour inactions. We don't even witness the colonization. We are going to colonize England on the field. It's quite unfortunate. When we are talking about taking action, we always find excuses. We should look at the ripple effect of our inactions and stop talking about, we are supposed to do that, but because of this and this and that. In the end, someone's life will be lost. And can we buy a life? Can we buy the 18 people who have died and perished in this situation? No. So we should stop these knee-jerk reactions and reactive positions that we've been taking, and actually go on the ground and solve the issue before it even happens, Martin.
You talked about the total number of districts in the central region.
23 districts.
And of them, how many were affected by these recent reports?
13.
13 out of the 23.
That's more than 60%.
Yes, more than half of the areas that
that's
we have.
serious.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wisdom, thank you for these updates and the numbers that you've brought to us regarding the developments in the central region, which used to be Ghana's capital at some point, but it looks as though it is now becoming a pale shadow of the kind of history it has. The historical structures some people lived in years ago is becoming a disaster and a danger to present generations. So there are steps being taken to ensure the safety of people in and around some of these areas. And unfortunately, late steps being taken, like Wisdom alluded to, is causing people to lose their lives and property being destroyed. So the Cape Coast Municipal Authorities say that they have decided to wage an all-out war against illegal mining, issues that are causing flooding, people building on waterways, and then structures that are unsafe for the areas that they find themselves. So we would update you on this particular story when we do get further and better updates. So you're still listening to 3FM 92.7. This is Hot Edition. On to some other stories now. And Minister for the Interior has announced the revocation of all existing firearm licenses nationwide, effective Tuesday, the 23rd of June, 2026, which is actually today. This is part of a sweeping overhaul of Ghana's firearm regulatory framework. The minister also announced the completion of Ghana's gun amnesty program, with more than 4,000 unregistered firearms voluntarily surrendered to authorities nationwide. Let's listen to this report that captures all this background and more.
The gun amnesty program, which began on December 1, 2025 and ended on July 30, 2026, aimed at reducing the circulation of illicit firearms and improving public safety across the country. Addressing a press briefing in Accra, Minister for the Interior, Muntaka Mubarak, said the exercise marks a significant steps in Ghana's effort to combat gun-related crime and strengthen national security. He announced the revocation of all existing firearms licenses nationwide.
From this afternoon, all permits that has been granted to any individual that you are holding a sidearm or firearm is hereby revoked. We are revoking that, and we are opening a window where everyone will have to come forward again to register or to re-register the gun, because we've changed the procedure.
The Interior Minister also cautioned licensed arms dealers to strictly adhere to firearms regulations, warning that any abuse of the licensing regime or involvement in illegal arm trafficking will attract sanctions.
Private security organizations are prohibited from possessing or using firearms in accordance with Regulation 13 of LI 1571. What we've noticed is that people come forward to register private security organizations. We grant them the permission, then they take individuals within their organization to register firearms as though they are using it for self-protection. Then they ended up using them for the organization.
With the gun amnesty period over, law enforcement agencies are expected to intensify intelligence and operations, including targeted searches and surveillance activities aimed at retrieving illicit firearms still in circulation. Authorities say additional measures have been implemented to strengthen border security and prevent the trafficking of illicit arms into the country. As part of the post-amnesty activities, over 2,000 seized surrendered firearms will be destroyed in a ceremony scheduled for July 9, 2026 at the police depot in Accra.
And that's a report by Armstrong Gold Alogbe. Now let's engage the thoughts of fraud and security consultant Richard Kumado. Mr. Kumado, good evening. Thank you for your time.
You're welcome.
I'm sure the news did not come to many as a surprise, but for someone who works within the security space, would you agree with those who say that the decision by the minister to announce the total revocation of all firearms is because of what happened in the Crystal Safo church over the weekend?
It could be one of them, because that was the recommendations of the investigators from the police was what the minister implemented by sustaining their private security license. But what the minister is talking about, it goes way beyond private security companies. We just finished gun amnesty program. A lot of people did not hand over their guns. We persuaded them that if you have a gun you don't want to hand over, register the gun. Some people got their licenses just about 2 weeks ago. Then, in the middle of June, no prior announcement, then you revoke all licenses. And you are now creating an avenue for people to come and register. So if I have a gun in my hands, I have a license for the gun. Now the gun is an illegal element with me. If Papa Police search me, they will take me on. If I've taken a gun with me to go and register when the process open up, will the police accept that this is a gun I have and I'm going through the process again? All those modalities will need to be made bare. Other than that, a great idea, but it may face some level of difficulties in terms of law and litigations at the court. In any case, for the minister to succeed with this policy, there has to be a comprehensive or an establishment of a comprehensive nationwide guide on procedure of gun ownership and registration. There has to be enhanced due diligence for persons who trade in gun as a legitimate business. There has to be a credible source of background checks procedure in this country for all persons who want to own guns. And more importantly, the manufacturers of local guns, there has to be a monitoring regime that is effective and that can cater for excesses. If violence and violence-related matters is one objective we want to achieve with this. Other than that, yeah, great idea. Well, we may have some level of difficulties implementing it.
But are we able to, as a country, tell how many guns are in the system, or we assume? Because one of the reasons why the amnesty was done was because there was the perception that guns were in people's hands, whether rightly or wrongly. So we are opening the window. So we legalize, especially those that want to carry firearms or own them. But if we do not have a specific idea in terms of how many people have guns in their homes or on them, how do we throw a blanket order that anybody, even with those who have their guns licensed, all of those licenses are revoked?
I think it's problematic. I don't know whose idea is this, whose advice is this, but this thing, it has a lot of challenges. My phone keeps on ringing almost every second. It has a lot of challenges. Implementation may be very problematic. People are not aware. This is a surprise. But in any case, we just did a gun amnesty program. And it is one of the things we want to cure. The background checks is key. Irrespective of whoever you are, is key. And we also work on the law that needed to be passed. We have not spoken about the law. We have not updated the nation about the outcomes of the amnesty, the difficulties it faces, and what the success stories are. But we've gone to announce another procedure and a program that is going to put the country on edge, and there's going to be a lot of agitations within the public space. I think this announcement and how we want to do it, it might look great, but it may come with some level of challenges, so we need to be prepared for it.
And finally, Mr. Kumado, role of citizens. I mean, the concern is that if people have guns, they certainly might be using it on fellow human beings. So if I know someone who owns a gun in an area or probably in my neighborhood, and I do not have a good relation with the person, can I just go and tell the police that this individual owns a gun? How can citizens also support this campaign?
Public education is key, and that was one of the difficulties the amnesty faced, the gun amnesty. Public education was key, awareness creation was key, and we need to look at it so critically to be able to create awareness. Here we are, we finished gun amnesty, and people do not have guns in their homes, but they have a whole armory within the city of Accra that they are using it to kill themselves or to shoot at themselves because of family feud. I think the whole approach, we need to be look at it again, and we need to do it properly, because you see, one of the reasons why people discharge their guns might not necessarily be because they have mental problems, but It may be more than that, and it goes a long ways in terms of emotional intelligence and some other things. So we need to frame this thing properly, do it properly, so that we get the results we are looking for. Other than that, it looks more like a knee-jerk reaction, and in my estimation, we will face a challenge that we will need to work very hard at it to achieve the results. Other than that, it might create the same problem we face with the gun amnesty program.
Thank you for your time as always, Mr. Kumado. Richard Kumado, fraud and security consultant, helping us put into perspective this directive that has been given by the Interior Minister, Mohammed Muntaka Mubarak, which is that every firearm in existence in Ghana is currently, as we speak, illegally owned, because he says all licenses covering these guns have been revoked. So if you do have a gun, you would have to go back to the take the gun back for registration, so they reissue the license. But one reason for the minister taking this decision is because they also want to be sure of the mental health of the person owning the gun, and probably is as a result of recent gun related violence, the most recent one being what happened at the Christo Asafo Church, where private security persons had guns on them, were actually firing at a vehicle that had Adjo in it. And on the back of that, that private security firm's license has been revoked, and then also the ammunitions that were found on some of the individuals who've been arrested and their private security, very revealing weapons that they had on them. But what the minister is indirectly saying is that anybody owning a gun in Ghana as of this moment is owning it illegally, and that they have to reissue their licenses because the licenses have been revoked. Do send us your thoughts on this particular development. We'll be happy to hear your thinking about what the minister must have thought about. And like I asked our resource person, could it be as a result of the weekend's shootout between, or the shootout that happened at the Christo Asafo Church? Is that what has triggered this particular issue? And issues of armed robbery as well may be back of his mind why he must have issued this directive. But your thoughts are very welcome. Send it to us on 3FM 92.7 on Facebook, on YouTube as well, and we'll let the rest of the world know about it. This is Hot Edition. It is live from our studio here at Adisawe Kanda in Accra. When we return, we'll be talking Black Stars as they prepare to face the Three Lions of England. The manager of the Black Stars, the coach, says, yes, England has 3 lions, but Ghana has 33 million lions. One of them being you and I. We need to support the boys. Details of all of that in a moment. Stay with us. 92.7 is the dial. This is 3FM and you're listening to Hot Edition with me, Martin Asiedu-Dartey. Let's take you quickly to the Ashanti region where the Bantama constituency chairman of the New Patriotic Party, Fifi Mensah, has accused the Member of Parliament for the area, Francis Asensio-Boakye, of attempting to manipulate the party's register ahead of the constituency executive elections. The allegations have heightened tensions among party executives and supporters in the constituency, raising concerns about unity within one of the NPP's traditional strongholds in the Ashanti region. There is more in this report by Ibrahim Abubakar.
The New Patriotic Party has opened nomination for its constituency executive elections as part of effort to reorganize its grassroots structures ahead of future electoral contests. But in the Bantama constituency, the exercise has been overshadowed by allegations of attempt to manipulate the party's register. The constituency chairman, Fifi Mensah, claims some members have been removed from the register, whilst others have been added without following laid-down procedures.
Can you imagine an album that the constituency chairman, who is supposed to be leading the process, has been taken out of the process because of the MP, has built his own group, running the whole show, and now they are taking people out. Somebody has been delegate for 16 years, 12 years, they are taking them out because of me? No, I don't understand. We must do a fair and clean up for peace to prevail in Bantama. Then we'll go for a peaceful election. The first vice, my vice, the contender, can put over 100 people in. And then I decide that, look, I want peace in Bantama. So be it as it may, I'm not going to fight anybody. But I bring only 19 people and you people tell me you won't put them in. Because of what? They will vote for me? You have openly said you will campaign against me. I said, I don't care. Come and campaign. You are the former minister, you are the MP. Let everybody do his campaign fairly. We go for the election, whoever wins, wins. But when you want to manipulate the system, take people out because of me, I will disagree.
The allegations have, however, been strongly dismissed by some constituency executives who insist the process remains transparent and credible. They maintain that the Member of Parliament, Francis Asensio-Boakye, has not interfered with the compilation or validation of the constituency register.
The chairman says that we should fix his people inside. And he has about 19 people that are supposed to be fixed inside. The question now I'm asking is, how do you fix people in when there's an election? People went for election, won the election, and became delegates. So how do you take those who won the election out and fixing the 19 people? That is the problem that we are facing in Bantama. Honorable Asensio-Boakye has nothing to do with the elections going on in Bantama. I think that the unpopularity of the chairman is making him do the things that he's doing.
The public exchange has generated intense debate among party supporters, with many calling on the regional and national leadership of the MPP to intervene and resolve the dispute before it escalates further. Ibrahim Abubakar, TV3 News, Kumasi.
Right, so that's what's happening in the Ashanti region, the stronghold of the New Patriotic Party when it comes to the politics. And it looks as though one of the strongest constituencies is reeling under some pressure. Certainly, they will have to find an amicable solution to resolving the issue. However, as it stands, it looks as though there are concerns and there's a rift between constituency executives and the Member of Parliament for the constituency. Would update you on when any new information does come up, but it's a story that we are following very keenly for you. And still in politics, the Majority Leader Mahama Ayariga is calling for legislation to make it mandatory for institutions, factories and public agencies to reserve a quota of jobs for persons with disabilities, saying that the move will help reduce unemployment among persons with disabilities and promote greater inclusion in the workforce. He also urged political parties to adopt quota systems to enable more persons with disabilities to contest as parliamentary candidates to ensure their interests are better reflected in decision-making and governance. There's more in this report.
We as a country must consider it as a major national embarrassment when our colleagues have to earn their living at traffic lights begging. And so, as a parliament, we must enact legislation which will compel a quota in every factory in every organization, in every institution, same way that we are enacting quotas for gender, we must also enact quotas for disabled persons. So that every institution must show that a certain number of its workers are disabled persons, because invariably there's no way that you won't find a disabled person who is qualified on his own to be employee of a certain factory, company, or organization. And so we must make it a quota for every agency, institution to ensure that they have a certain number of disabled persons engaged by them. And I believe that political parties as well must make an effort to fill a number of disabled persons so that they will come to Parliament, be in Parliament, and they can voice the concerns of their colleagues. We can say all the things that we want to say about them, but they are better advocates of their situation than we can ever be in this chamber. We must also find a way of making sure that our Constitution has a framework that enables us in government to account for the interests, the concerns, and representation of disabled persons in our governance system.
Mahama Yariga is the majority leader in Parliament, talking about the need for an inclusive society where persons living with disabilities can also be employed, especially in government settings, private settings, and even in political parties, so they can be able to better express their sentiments in Parliament. As he has indicated, says that no able-bodied person can properly tell what the feeling is like and why they need assistance when they talk for persons living with disability, but persons with disabilities themselves. So the verdict is out there. Let's all play our role in assisting our brothers and sisters with that challenge. In more news this evening, altercations between firefighters and civilians over quick response to fire incidents and operational efficiency has dominated headlines for many weeks. But what really goes into firefighting and what misconceptions about the job may be fueling this mistrust? My colleague Noura Mohammed spent a day taking us into the world of Ghana's firefighters in this special report. Unfortunately, we do not have that particular inset, but the concern has been that in recent times that we have our firefighters going to fight fire, especially when there are distress calls of some emergencies. When they get there, they are met with some level of resistance by people who believe they must have come in either late or they came in without inadequate material. But we will try and get further updates on that for you. Let's talk football now. And you know that the Black Stars in about an hour and a half or so will be locking horns with their England counterparts. They beat Panama in their opener game, and then also, as we speak, England is preparing to host the Black Stars. It's been a lot of talk here in Ghana and in England and in all footballing circles. Oreku Ampofo is our man in Boston, where the two teams will be playing. He's joined us for a quick chat. Oreku, thank you for your time. To start with, what's the mood like in Boston? Talk to us also about the weather.
I think the mood has been great. Unfortunately, from a Ghanaian point of view, it looks as if the English are going to dominate the stands. From what I've seen outside, the moment you enter into like a 1 kilometer radius within the stadium, for every one Ghanaian fan that you see about 100 English fans. And it's been a whole trail of them. Majority of them are just outside the stadium having their beer. But majority of the noise from the stadium has come from the Ghanaians who, I think, in this particular context, are the minority. We've seen a bit of jama sessions from them with the drum, and then we've also had them play football together here at the stadium, English fans and Ghanaian fans. So I think everyone is really excited. The vibes are really, really good ahead of the game. And with regards to the weather, it's supposed to be summer, but as you can see, I'm in my sweater because it's been It's been raining since yesterday evening, actually. As of now, the rain has submerged a bit. However, we do expect little drops, not massive, in the next couple of hours or so. And so we're not too certain whether that would carry over into the game. However, if it does, it would be the second time that Ghana are playing in the rain after their first match against Panama in Toronto also happened in the rain.
Right. Wow, a good picture you paint there. Now, talk to us about the optimism from, I don't want to say pessimism, but optimism from both the Ghanaian camp and the fans. Are they hopeful and strongly hopeful that we are going to make quite an impact and beat England?
Look, the truth is, I think majority of them know that England are favorites for this one. But the reason why you buy a ticket and travel all around just to come and follow your country, especially, is just a belief that you have. There's been a number of shocks at the World Cup. Ghana have actually been part of that. If you look at Ghana's history, even the 2-2 draw with Germany when things were not going well. In 2006, we saw Ghana beat the US and Czech Republic. Over the course of Ghana's World Cup history, we've seen all results go in the favor of Ghana. So on paper, it may be that Ghana has a 7% chance of winning against England, who are ranked 4th in the world. But majority of the fans here are hoping for something spectacular, and they are hopeful. That's how I would describe it. For England, they are probably a little bit more confident, given the fact that they beat Croatia by 4-2. And the good news that Bukayo Saka has trained in the past 2 days with the team, and so they do have all 26 of their players available as well. But I think generally both sets of fans are confident that at least they can get a result today, which will automatically book their place in the knockout round.
2 final questions, then we'll let you go, Oreku. One would be the players themselves. We know that Partey couldn't play the first game. Do we have any information about his addition to the team? Is he starting?
Yeah, it's expected that Thomas would definitely come back into the team. He's one of the leaders in this Black Stars, a very young Black Stars setup. About 15, 16 of the team are making their debut at the World Cup. Partey is one of those who have already featured in the World Cup, and he comes with years of experience, especially facing an England side, the country where he played for 5 years with Arsenal. Interestingly, after the whole, visa issues that prevented him from going to Canada for the Panama game, he was in the news a lot. And on Sunday, getting into Monday, he suggested to the team that usually FIFA mandate the teams that are playing a day before your match to offer 3 players to the media for a mixed zone at the training center. Partey himself opted to be part of those 3. The reasons are not known, but he just wanted to have the opportunity to come forward and clear the air. And that's exactly what he did yesterday. Spoke about the fact that this is a young team, but they're still confident, and he believes that they can come out there, compete with England, and do their best. And he also mentioned that he's looking forward to facing some of his old teammates in Bukayo Saka, Declan Rice, and he's hoping that they bring their A game to this match as well. So I think definitely he will be involved in this big game today.
Right, and finally, I am optimistic we are going to win. After this, are we still playing in the US, or we would have to go to Canada? And how does that tie into the Partey conversation, if we even do qualify out of the group?
So thankfully, the next group game, which is the last one, is against Croatia. It's in the US, in Philadelphia. And so the team was still based at their camp in Rhode Island, Providence. However, a day before the game against Croatia, they will fly into Philadelphia, play the game, and depending on the result, come back to their base camp and wait for their opponent to the knockout round if they qualify. Potentially, depending on where Ghana finishes in the group, that's what will determine where Ghana would potentially go. It could be Kansas City, it could be Vancouver in Canada. And so, the permutations are a lot, but it's difficult to talk about it now because we don't even know where Ghana would finish if they qualify. And that's what will determine where they'll play next. But yes, there is that possibility that the team returns to Canada, especially if they finish there. Okay, let's not worry about that now. Let's enjoy today's game, and hopefully the Black Stars put smiles on our face. Thank you, Oreku Ampofo. And you had Oreku Ampofo. He joined us from
the United States of America, where the Black Stars are set to face their English counterparts, the 3 Lions versus the 33 Lions in Ghana. And it's going to be quite an encounter. Murtala Mohammed is also with our sports desk. He's with one of the many watch parties dotted across the capital and many parts of the country. He's joined us for a quick chat. Murtala, thank you for your time. First question certainly is expected. What's the mood like, for the fans in and around where you are?
Of course, I am currently around delicious food and drinks. A lot of fans are here to watch the game. And as you know, Portugal is currently playing. And once Portugal is playing, Cristiano Ronaldo is in action. So fans are already here watching that one, because right after that game, then we cross over into the Ghana game. It looks like today the mood is one that a lot of Ghanaians are expecting. So when I gauge, I can clearly tell you that Ghanaians really are optimistic that today would go our way, because most of them have left job early just to be here so that they don't get stuck in traffic, get to watch every minute of what will be happening, especially on TV3, where we'll be building up from 6 p.m. So here are the Danish food and drinks inside the University of Ghana Sports Stadium. I can tell you fans are here already in their numbers and waiting for 8 p.m. where they can watch the game.
Right, and yeah, so clearly they are watching the current game, which is ongoing. We are going to be bringing live coverage of the Ghana game on 3FM and on TV3, right?
Yes, I will be doing that. And as I said, coverage will start at 6 p.m. So in a few minutes' time on TV3, we're starting our coverage. Then we cross over to various, watch party venues in Ghana here. And we'll go back to Toronto because by then, the Rekwampov would have gotten updates on what we need to know about the Black Stars. Then we feed our audience in that. And on 3FM, we will also be at the Magdan La Town Park in La, where we would also be running commentary, speaking to a number of fans as well, getting their thoughts and predictions before and after the game.
Right. Finally, before you go, the Ghana match, again, many are expectant, like you said. Talk to us about what we are picking up in terms of from the Black Stars. We just spoke to Oreku. He says the camp, many of the players are optimistic. They are hoping to make history. But what else should the expectation of fans be based on information we are getting from the camp, and also the fact that England is also poised to at least claw the 3 points?
So now, based on everything that we picked up so far, and based on the press conference that Carlos Queiroz has, he says it's going to be an improved performance as compared to the one we saw against Panama. And he feels or believes that the players will turn up, give their all, fight to the very end as compared to what we saw against Panama. And there's this feeling of optimism naturally among Ghanaians that yes, England is a big giant. Yes, England is a big nation when it comes to football. But Ghana would get a favorable result today.
Thank you so much for speaking to us, Murtala.
Welcome.
Yes, he is with our sports desk here at Media General, Murtala Mohammed there. And like he indicated, 3FM will be bringing you live coverage as well as TV3. So don't worry at all if you do not know where to watch the match. Just tune into 3FM. If you are driving or you are in town or on your way, you can follow the conversation. If you are also at home or in the office or anywhere you find a television, TV3 will bring you live coverage of the Black Stars game against England. And talking about that game, we hit the streets to get the thoughts of many Ghanaians regarding their expectation ahead of today's game. And some of them expressed full confidence in the Black Stars. Success Trevor, my colleague here, was the one that engaged many of our fans.
If excitement could score goals, Ghana would already be ahead. Now, hours before the Black Stars face England at this World Cup, expectations among fans have reached fever pitch. England may be on a stronger team or have very strong pedigree, but Ghana's backing of Carlos Queiroz's men could shape the group standings. We ask supporters one simple question: can Ghana beat England? Come, let's find out. But who said energy in a high? What predictions are you saying?
2-1
against
England. I'm in for 2-0 in favor of Ghana.
2-0.
2-0. Ghana is winning 2-0.
A lot of people are saying that England, we can't take them on. What's your take on that?
We want to let them know that they were our colonial masters before, but we have been out of their jurisdiction. So we want to take over the fact that we are now their colonial masters.
Okay.
So we are scoring 2-0.
That 2-0, which players are scoring those goals?
I'm tipping Semenyo to be on the score sheet, and as far as Thomas Partey is on the lineup today, expecting him to provide some telepathic passing to maybe Inaki. If Inaki is on the lineup, he's likely to also be on the score sheet.
Be small confidence Ghanaians are expressing over there. We are very confident that all of this vim will translate into a scoreline to put smiles on our faces at the end of 90 minutes. Well, that's how we transition into the world of business. Bismarck Usa joins us in a jiffy.
Hello, good evening and welcome to the business segment on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7 with me, Bismarck. Also coming up tonight, Gold Board moves to align gold trading with international best practices. We'll bring you details. Thanks for your company. Now to the details. Ghana's rural and community banking sector, with total assets rising by almost 25% to exceed 25 billion cedis. The expansion was driven by higher deposits, stronger capital positions, and a sharp increase in lending, highlighting the sector's growing role in supporting financial inclusion and economic activity in underserved communities. The following three business news report has the details.
Latest data from the Bank of Ghana shows total assets of rural and community banks increased by nearly 25% to 25.3 billion cedis, up from 20.3 billion a year earlier. Customer deposit, which remained the sector's main source of funding, also rose by over 25% to 21.7 billion cedis, reflecting sustained public confidence in the institutions. The sector's capital position improved considerably, with shareholders' funds increasing by more than 41% to 2.5 billion cedis. On the lending front, loans and advances recorded the fastest growth, jumping by more than 48% to almost 7 billion cedis. This points to increased credit support for farmers, traders, small businesses, and households across the country. Despite the stronger lending activity, rural and community banks continue to maintain a cautious balance sheet structure, with more than half of total assets still invested in bills and bonds. The figures underscore the sector's growing importance in advancing financial inclusion, although experts say stronger credit risk management and governance will be crucial as loan books continue to expand.
And that was a three business news desk report on rural and community banks growing their assets to 25.3 billion cedis as deposits surge and lending expands by nearly 50%. Now to our headline story. Gold Board has engaged licensed gold traders in a bid to improve operational standards and promote greater transparency within Ghana's artisanal and small-scale gold mining trade. The discussions focused on measures designed to ensure that gold trading activities comply with international best practices while protecting value across the entire supply chain from miners to traders and the broader economy. A major outcome of the engagement was the decision to adopt the London Bullion Market Association LBMA pricing formula and trading window. And that brings us to the end of the business segment on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7 with me, Bismarck. Also, for more business stories, please check out our website 3news.com. Thanks for your company.
And that's how we bring the bulletin to an end. Thank you very much for listening. If you go to our website, 3news.com, you'll get an update of all the stories we brought to you and many others. My name is Martin Asiedu-Dartey, and like we indicated, we are bringing you live coverage of the World Cup game between Ghana and England in a jiffy. That will kick off at 8 p.m. But then in-studio discussions and coverage will start around 6:30. So do make a date, probably 7 thereabout, when we've all had dinner and are ready to go to the park. Have a good evening. This is 3FM 92.7.